Richard John Grieco Jr. was born on March 23, 1965, in Watertown, New York, into a family of Italian and Irish heritage. He was raised in the nearby small town of Dexter, nestled within Jefferson County, where life was simple and community ties were strong. He shared his childhood with his two sisters, Elizabeth and Laura, and his brother David. Their parents, Richard Grieco Sr. and Carolyn Grieco, were devoted and hardworking individuals who emphasized the values of discipline, humility, and the pursuit of steady, respectable careers. Although the Grieco family faced modest financial circumstances, their home was rich in love, resilience, and determination. These formative values became a compass for Richard as he navigated the many changes and challenges in his life. From an early age, Richard possessed a natural magnetism that extended far beyond his physical appearance. Even as a young boy, he carried himself with a sense of quiet confidence and presence that made people take notice. In the tight-knit community of Dexter, where most residents lived quietly and avoided the spotlight, Richard's vibrant personality and fearless spirit made him stand out. At General Brown High School, he quickly made a name for himself as a standout athlete. He played football with great intensity, skillfully taking on the dual roles of center and cornerback, a rare combination that highlighted both his physical strength and mental agility. His teammates admired his tenacity and instinct for the game, while his coaches saw in him the potential for a future at the professional level. Whether on the field or off, Richard's leadership qualities were undeniable. He wasn't loud or boastful, but people naturally gravitated toward him. He inspired through action and perseverance. But Richard was not simply an athlete. Beneath the surface of his driven exterior was a deeply emotional and expressive soul. He discovered a powerful love for painting, and though his approach to art was less structured than his athletic training, it was just as passionate. His work wasn't about perfect technique or academic form, it was about feeling. Through painting, he found a private space where he could express emotions that words or actions often couldn't capture. This creative outlet became an essential part of his identity, helping him find balance and depth, even while excelling in more physically demanding pursuits. After graduating high school, Richard enrolled at Central Connecticut State University. Continuing his football journey, he trained with determination and set his sights on the NFL. For a time, the dream of playing professional football seemed within reach. But life had other plans. A devastating injury brought his promising athletic career to an unexpected halt. For the first time, Richard found himself uncertain of his path. The loss of football, a central part of his identity, left a void that was not easily filled. He grappled with the emotional toll of that sudden change, trying to figure out what came next. It was during this vulnerable and uncertain chapter that fate intervened. While visiting New York City, Richard was approached by a talent scout from Elite Model Management. With his chiseled bone structure, expressive eyes, and natural poise, he possessed the kind of look that was in high demand in the world of high fashion. Almost overnight, his life took a dramatic turn. He signed with the agency and soon found himself modeling for some of the most prestigious fashion houses in the world, including Armani, Calvin Klein, and Chanel. His distinctive style, equal parts raw energy and effortless cool, set him apart from the more polished, clean-cut models of the time. There was something dangerous and compelling about him, a mystery that drew people in and made them remember him. Modeling brought him global recognition, financial security, and access to circles of influence and creativity that had once seemed a world away from Dexter. Yet, despite the allure of luxury and fame, Richard remained unfulfilled. He saw modeling not as a destination, but as a door. He was deeply aware that he had more to offer than just his looks. Acting had long fascinated him, and now, with the resources and connections at his disposal, he began to pursue it in earnest. By day, he modeled. By night, he studied acting, honing his craft and learning to channel his emotions with greater precision and intention. His persistence paid off. In 1985, he secured a role on the popular daytime soap opera, One Life to Live, playing the character Rick Gardner. Initially conceived as a short-term role, his performance was so compelling that it was extended into a recurring part, lasting through 1987. It was a critical moment for Richard. Not only did it validate his acting potential, but it also gave him the courage to leave modeling behind. He made the bold decision to dedicate himself fully to acting, understanding that the transition wouldn't be easy and that public perception would be a hurdle. But Richard Grieco was no stranger to risk, and once again, his gamble paid off. Within a few short years, he had become one of the most recognizable and captivating male stars of the late 1980s. His on-screen presence, smoldering, intense, and emotionally nuanced, captivated audiences, particularly among young viewers who saw in him a symbol of rebellion, sensitivity, and strength. He was more than a heartthrob. He was a true artist at heart, someone who brought authenticity to every role he inhabited. His early life experiences, from the football field to the modeling runway to the set of a television drama, had all prepared him for this moment. An arrival not just in fame, but in purpose. One moment, Richard Grieco was the lead of his own successful series, and the next, he was left without a platform, caught in the crossfire of a corporate power struggle that had little to do with his talent or the show's performance. The abrupt cancellation of Booker in 1990 was not only a blow to his rising stardom, but a harsh introduction to the unpredictable and often impersonal nature of the television industry. The series had shown steady ratings, and Grieco had amassed a loyal fan base who resonated with his edgy, emotionally layered portrayal of Dennis Booker. The show had just begun to carve out a unique identity, setting itself apart from 21 Jump Street with a moodier, more mature tone. It was a world in which Booker could evolve beyond the rebellious teen archetype into a complex anti-hero navigating corporate espionage and morally gray territory. That potential, however, was cut short before it could fully unfold. Despite the setback, Grieco refused to fade into obscurity. The early 1990s presented new opportunities, particularly in film, where he attempted to make the leap to the big screen. His first major movie role came in 1991 with If Looks Could Kill, a teen action comedy where he played Michael Corbin, a high school student mistaken for a secret agent. The film was a mix of espionage, humor, and teenage fantasy, tailored to capitalize on Grieco's bad boy charm and on-screen charisma. While it didn't receive critical acclaim, it performed modestly at the box office and helped cement his image as a Hollywood heartthrob. He followed that performance with darker roles, including a turn in Mobsters, where he portrayed Benjamin Bugsy Siegel alongside other young stars of the time like Christian Slater and Patrick Dempsey. Though the film was stylish and ambitious, it struggled critically and commercially, contributing to a slow but noticeable decline in Grieco's momentum. By the mid-1990s, Grieco found himself typecast, often offered roles that leaned heavily on his physical appeal rather than the emotional range he had fought to showcase. Hollywood's appetite for fresh faces is insatiable, and new talents had begun to dominate the landscape. Grieco, determined not to be reduced to a passing trend, began seeking roles that challenged him, including independent films and television guest appearances. He also returned to his artistic roots, focusing more seriously on painting, a passion that had remained with him since his youth. His work, abstract and emotionally charged, allowed him to express parts of himself that Hollywood often ignored. He began showcasing his art in galleries, gaining respect not as a celebrity-turned-painter, but as a genuine artist with a unique voice. Though the roles became less frequent and the media attention more sporadic, Grieco remained a working actor, carving out a niche for himself in cult classics, thrillers, and indie projects. He embraced the parts that allowed him to subvert expectations, sometimes poking fun at his earlier image with self-aware cameos and appearances. At the same time, his public persona began to shift. No longer the fresh-faced newcomer, he emerged as a figure who had weathered the intense highs and lows of fame with a kind of quiet resilience. He never fully chased the spotlight again in the way he had during his peak years, but he also never entirely left the public consciousness. Fans from the Jump Street era remained loyal, and younger audiences discovered his work through reruns and online platforms, intrigued by the intensity and authenticity he brought to every role. While Grieco never regained the same level of fame he experienced in the late 80s and early 90s, his story became emblematic of a deeper truth about celebrity. Fame is fleeting, often arbitrary, and rarely a measure of true talent or worth. What distinguished Grieco was not only his ability to command a screen, but his refusal to be defined by the industry's narrow expectations. He continued to evolve, both personally and artistically, refusing to be a relic of a bygone era. For many, he remained an enduring symbol of rebellion, artistry, and perseverance, a man who rose fast, fell hard, but never stopped creating. Richard Grieco's journey into the art world began serendipitously in 1991 during the filming of If Looks Could Kill near Montreal. Initially attempting to paint the surrounding landscapes, Grieco became frustrated with the results and discarded the canvas. However, upon experimenting with dripping black, red, and white paint over it, he experienced a revelation, feeling an intense connection to this newfound form of expression. Saturn Zero Search. Over the years, painting became a deeply personal endeavor for Grieco, serving as an outlet for emotions he couldn't express through other mediums. He describes his work as capturing lightning in a bottle, emphasizing the pure, unbridled emotion he pours onto each canvas. Despite his passion, Grieco was initially hesitant to share his art publicly. It wasn't until his friend, actor, and artist Dennis Hopper encouraged him to showcase his work that Grieco considered exhibiting his paintings. Saturn Zero Search 7 in 2009, Grieco took a leap of faith by posting one of his pieces on Facebook. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with the artwork selling for $10,000. This pivotal moment led him to officially present his art to the public. By 2013, Grieco held his first solo exhibition, Sanctum of a Dreamer, at Gallery Sparta in West Hollywood. The event attracted art enthusiasts and collectors, with a portion of the proceeds benefiting the Wolf Connection Foundation, reflecting Grieco's commitment to philanthropy. Grieco's distinctive style, which he terms abstract emotionalism, delves into the subtext of the subconscious, aiming to evoke raw emotions rather than depict literal interpretations. His technique often involves painting on the ground, using unconventional tools like sticks and large paint cans, allowing the paint to move freely and breathe life into the canvas. This method results in artworks that resonate deeply with viewers, each interpreting the pieces through their own emotional lenses. Today, Grieco's artworks are sought after by collectors worldwide, a testament to his evolution from actor to a respected figure in the art community. His journey underscores the transformative power of embracing one's passions and the profound impact of authentic self-expression. Seen as a symbol of the unpredictable and untamed spirit of the late 80s and early 90s, Richard Grieco never conformed to Hollywood's rules. He consistently chose the road less traveled, not just in his professional life, but in every facet of his existence. To him, success was never about red carpets, blockbuster deals, or critical acclaim. It was about expression, authenticity, and the courage to evolve. Grieco's artistic journey began with modeling, transitioned into acting and music, and eventually found its truest voice in painting. This final medium seemed to offer him the deepest connection to his own emotional landscape, allowing him to communicate raw feelings without filter or formula. His art, which he dubbed abstract emotionalism, became not only a source of income, but a sanctuary, something that grounded him through life's chaotic waves. His romantic life, by contrast, was far from serene. Though he never married, Grieco experienced deep, often volatile relationships with a string of high-profile women. From Christina Applegate to Yasmin Bleeth, each relationship seemed to mirror the turbulence of a man caught between emotional intensity and the pressures of fame. Despite repeated attempts at finding lasting love, the reality of Hollywood schedules, substance issues, and Grieco's own restlessness often led to heartbreak. His longest romantic entanglement, with Canadian model Kimber Sissons, was emblematic of his emotional complexity. Spanning nearly a decade, their on-and-off relationship was both a source of joy and distress, ultimately culminating in the birth of his only known child, Dylan Justice Sissons. Though initially uncertain about his paternity, Grieco embraced fatherhood with a degree of responsibility, even as financial and legal tensions emerged years later. Even as his film and television opportunities began to dry up, Grieco maintained a steady financial footing through royalties, personal appearances, and most notably, his art. His paintings, often large-scale and deeply textured, attracted collectors who admired the unfiltered emotion and authenticity embedded within each piece. Unlike many of his peers who struggled to find relevance as the spotlight faded, Grieco embraced a quieter life. He focused on self-expression rather than self-promotion, resisting the common Hollywood urge to reinvent for relevance. He also found solace in the convention circuit, where loyal fans of 21 Jump Street and Booker still lined up to meet him, offer thanks, and purchase signed artwork. As the years passed, Grieco became less of a public spectacle and more of a mysterious figure, an artist at work tucked away in his Los Angeles studio, surrounded by canvases, paint, and the sounds of rock music. Occasionally, he would dip his toes back into film, producing or directing low-budget indie projects, but these were more labors of love than strategic comebacks. Unlike many once-famous actors who became cautionary tales or punchlines, Grieco managed to sidestep the bitterness that fame's decline often brings. He never seemed interested in proving anything to anyone, and that may be his most defining quality, his refusal to chase relevance at the cost of authenticity. Despite the mistakes, heartbreaks, and lost opportunities, Grieco's story isn't one of regret. It's one of relentless self-exploration. He didn't fade into obscurity. He simply changed course. While he may not dominate headlines or appear in major studio productions, his artistic voice continues to evolve. He lives quietly but creatively, financially independent and emotionally unencumbered. He has found peace not in external success but in internal clarity, a rare accomplishment in an industry built on illusion. And so the question remains, did he fall from grace, or did he rise to something greater? In choosing to live life on his own terms, Richard Grieco may have authored one of the most quietly triumphant narratives in all of Hollywood.